point that we don't think where it's going is going to work. Because at least we have been a testimony or being a witness to some of the promises and strategy taken earlier. But the result couldn't work as expected. And they gave it to us in the full assured economic terms that this was going to work.
And it didn't work.
That's according to you. And that is where we get to the point that continued promises wouldn't work. We need, as he said, we should come on hands deck. Are they prepared to listen to the other side of the calculations that will make it? It is known, and
Stephen,
that's what we have.
You're shaking your head, and I guess you're simply trying to say that indeed these measures, for instance, the increase in the monetary policy rate by 100 basis points to 25% wouldn't simply do anything at all.
In any case, the inference is that it's rather going to aggravate our problems. But let me come quickly back to Dr. Otabil. That he said there seemed to be global economic crisis. For what he said, that's the summary. But it is very interesting. Sometimes it's difficult when you are discussing issues and you're trying so hard
the
not to make statements.
Difficulty should not impact on what we do.
Do we really have global economic crisis?
We hear of Greek, we hear of what's happening in other parts of the country.
How many countries do we have in the world? List them. My brother says something. Look, find out now. Brazil has brought money into this country to give out to people, investors.
But they're coming out of recession and so.
Brazil, they have kind of manufactured so much that they are now calling investors from various countries to come to their country, to look at the things they have. If they are interested in it, they buy them and send them to their countries.
How do they do it?
That's what I'm saying. I'm coming. I will come to that. If we have problem as a country, please, let us do our utmost best. Not to try to let people sit there and say, oh, it's okay, let's, after all, the world. No, it's never true. If that is the case, let me ask you one question. Between 2006 and 2008, okay, in terms of severity of the global economic crisis, it was next to post-Second World War. Yeah. That was what we call global economic crisis. That one, it was so serious. You can never, giant economies such as America and Japan and they were all collapsing. That's what we talk about. It's not as of this time.
So you see this one as just...
I'm coming. I'm coming. Right. The problem is that...
Doctor, I get a chance to react.
The problem is that let us sit down. First, acknowledge that we have problems. Two, how best can we solve the problems?
Which the government has acknowledged.
Yes, but so we cannot sit there and say, oh, after other places, we should have confidence. No, nobody is talking about confidence. And all that we are saying is that let us ask the right questions. Because look, for about 7 years now, we have had so much inflows. We are not having oil.
You can quantify? You can quantify?
So much, right? No, let me tell you something.
Stephen, can you quantify how much?
No, I'm giving you.
Can I have the document?
I'm coming. No, but
you don't have the document.
I can give you that.
Go ahead.
Listen,
go ahead.
Cocoa prices between 2000 and 2007. From here, go and Google and check the average price in terms of world market price that we've had. Two, we have oil inflows. At least our debt portfolio has been increased from 9.5 to about 94 billion. HIPC, we are still benefiting from HIPC. Go and check our budget. We only changed the title. So we've had so much inflows. Yeah, we're having problems. It could also be that the expenditure under this regime probably is entirely different from other regimes. I have to be honest and try to balance the issue. The fact is that our debt portfolio is actually getting to the level that they are getting close to absorbing our assets. And it's very risky and dangerous for our country. We need to accept that. And then find out how best, as a country, can we get out of this situation and move forward as a people. But if we don't do that, and we try to say that, oh, we're going about it this way, we are raising Eurobond. Let me ask you, Eurobond, are we going to pay back or not? With interest or not? We are getting Eurobonds in dollars. So we are leaving there for posterity to come and also pay back in dollars. And that will also increase the demand for dollars. And that will also affect our currency performance. All that we are saying is that we have gotten to this level. Whether it's good or bad, this is where we've gotten to. I think as a country, if I'm to advise the government, there's an area in our budget that the government should look at critically. I've been saying this for almost the past 6 years. But the fact is that in our country today, it's not a message. They look at messenger. If I were probably somebody else in this country, they would have taken this thing serious. I knew these problems will come. Some of us were saying that the discretionary spending policy arm of our budget. You know, budgets, we have expenditure twofold. The statutory, where it's obligation. I mean, legally you have to. And then we have the discretionary.
The get fund, NHIS, and all that.
The discretionary is where most African governments, irrespective of whichever party is in power, they mess up our resources. Where the government's own discretion can say that I'm taking one to this place and building this. This is the budget for this construction. This is the budget for this consultancy. Who manages? So that's where the problem is. So I am telling our president and the managers of the economy and anybody that will come in the future that our major problem. Look, Bright, let me tell you this.
Wrap up quickly. Let me do some comments.
I have this big problem with Ghana when it comes to MPP and DC from 92. Why do we buy Land Cruisers, pickups?
Okay.
I'm coming. Let me learn with this. I'm learning with this.
We'll come and talk about that.
I was in Botswana. They don't do that. Ministers, bus goes run and pick you. If you are not ready, you take your bus.
Right.
When I was in UK, I used to board the same train. I'm coming here with Tony Blair's wife.
Great.
So it's the way we spend unproductively.
Let me get Dr. Otabil to quickly react to your issue with the global system and the fact that you
maybe we can Google and check it whether there is
quickly
global
just 30 seconds before I take some comments and then
I'm getting a bit confused here because the issue is this: are we saying that we borrow to buy Land Cruisers or?
Oh no. I'm talking about how we can manage our debt because it's part of it. We spend our money on them.
In terms of debt management and the budget preparation process involving the consultations, approval through the Parliamentary Select Committee of the various sectors, then it goes through Parliament, is approved, and that sort of thing. We've got to respect that institutional arrangement.
Yeah, but I can't make mistake with it. It doesn't mean it's perfect.
We can insinuate.
We don't want to. We even buy Land Cruisers for chiefs.
No. The point is a bit off. If we
that is what you think, but they are contributing to our debt portfolio.
Well, you could
That's
say
what
so.
I'm saying.
The issue is that, look, if we are looking at how best we can manage our economy and try to get a debt situation in the right shape, let's look at what has happened and what has been put in place and how best these things can help resolve the issues that we have. Clearly, he made reference to 2006, 2008. If we're going to look at the global financial crisis and the fundamentals and what caused the crisis at the time, the credit squeeze, the credit crunch, where we had global businesses, really falling. Why were we out of it? These issues are what I want us to engage in. Not the
when we come back,
that is the definition
I want us to stick to recommendations. Now we've seen where we are. We've seen the gap we have by way of our debt. When we come back, I want us to look at recommendations, getting the managers of the economy to listen and see how they can turn things from. But let me quickly read through some of the comments that have come in. I'll get you the chance to talk. Let me quickly read through some of the comments that are coming. And then this one has known, it says, Bright, your panelists are doing, I don't know, I guess you want to say they are doing great. I'm enjoying the show. And then Steve Amwa and Dr. Chinebua are right. You don't have a name there. Then Frank Ampofu from Buamang says, Bright, a country where the government is seriously competing with the private sector for capital in the local economy, what do you think it will happen to the economy? Well, that's from Frank. And then also from Abdul Latif Kodie, he says, Mr. Bright, we need to shun away from party politics and concentrate on the economy. Per the analysis, Ghana has no option than joining HIPC, or else the economy is totally crippled. And then there's one from Alukus in Tamale, and you said the Ghanaian economy is in shambles and hence must be rescued. How on earth would the Mahama-led government be deceiving Ghanaians about the true state of the economy? No wonder we have graduated from HIMIC to HIPC again, and Big Brother, IMF still give us edge-cutting conditionalities. Ghanaians must brace up for tougher times ahead. Well, that's what you want. Kweku also from Kumasi says, please tell Dr. Otabil that this is not a political platform, so he should face reality. Well, that's what you think. And then Hakim says government should invest a lot in productive industries and minimize the external borrowing. And then Mohammed from Buakwa Ashanti, you says the NDC government is taking us to the most difficult area because of our debt. And then this one has no name, says no wonder we're heading to HIPC, because in the country where no, we don't want to go there. And then this one is from George Mankran. So you said NDC poor management has worsened the economy. Government-wise borrowing has landed us where we are now. I did big, okay, well, I mean these things. And then Habib from Tamale says, we show bad road on TVs, that's why government is borrowing. Okay. And then a lot of it, this one is from Stephen. Tell Mr. Stephen that I miss, oh, no, I don't, Stephen, what are you saying? And
You should tell me.
I should tell Stephen that I miss him, Mr. Oh, okay. I should tell Stephen you miss him. Okay. Mr. Brian, let's accept the fact that we are sick and get our healing. Great. And then Ajima from Cape Coast says, Mr. Moderator, please let me refer Dr. Otabil to what Schumacher says about economists like him, whose expertise hinges on juggling with figures. Only they can see the empirical issues are separate from the mathematical models which economists of his type are good at repeating. Well, a lot of big English, I don't know what you mean. And then Nketia says the debt problems can be solved if the cedi is strong against the US dollar, and this can be achieved if we export more. Why can't we finance firms to establish agro-based companies like Shea Butter Refinery in the north? Shea Butter has a potential to increase our export earnings. Great. Okay, so a lot of you have put in your comment, and we'll try and read all of them, but keep them coming. 1734 or networks. We'll take a break. When we come back, I got my panelists to put in some recommendations. How can the managers of the economy deal with this problem and get us out of where we are? Stay on. Agenda is returning shortly. Thanks so much for staying there. Now let's try and help our managers of the economy to deal with this problem of debt and how it can get us out of the red. That is, if we are in the red. Let me start with Dr. Cheneboa. Now, some measures we see have been taken. We're talking. Steve has been talking about the 1.5 billion euro bond. There are other measures that the governor of the Bank of Ghana and the managers of the economy think will see us not perhaps getting too red into the red. That is, if there's any red at all. How can they sustain this? What are the measures to deal with the country's rising debt?
In fact, most of this path they have taken, to me, I still see it as more of like a medium-term interventions. Possible they are not sustainable. If we continue to watch on the area of financial economics, they are not sustainable. As a liberal economic thinking aspect, I look more of how we begin to look on our labor market, how best government has to begin focusing on deepening its capital market. Some countries have started working on research on how best they can be able to bring policies that will deepen their capital market to help productivity to begin. You can run a country on commerce, whereby the commerce you are having, this type of business owners are all importing and selling. Why do they import? Because they think even local productivity is very quite expensive. That when they compare, and you also have a type of consumers that are price sensitive. And when you have them, they are not buying mostly per quality, but they are buying per the price variations. Then you know that most of the distributor or the commerce business people are going to do import and sell as compared to the local productivity.
They won't want to go into manufacturing.
They won't want to go to manufacturing. Now the manufacturer here is having difficult to have access to reliable capital. And when we are talking about the capital that your banks can provide now are all short-term capital. They are not capital that can enable a producer to be able to run his business and become successful. Bankers are not prepared to invest on projects that will take about 2-3 years. But we got to get to an economic environment whereby ideas are supposed to be seen as a value. And if ideas begins to be seen as a value, then it's going to be the help of a government to establish the policy environment whereby financial institutions are ready to also fund such capital ideas.
Wrap up and let me quickly go to Mr. Sebrama. I'm told we're running out of time.
Very well. And then on that basis, we should also see an environment where productivity is very high in terms of human resource. Now we look at government being now more of employer of the human resource within the country. And then when we go into our government, most of the expenditure is being created to be of paid to salary issues in the country. But let's look at the productive that comes out. It is always a deficit. And when you continue having such environment, how do you then expect yourself to have a strong and a booming economy?
Let me
to continue operating as
some measures to deal with this rising debt.
I think now we should have short-term and long-term. The long-term, I think we should redefine our corporate focus as a country. The entire economic structure, I wouldn't say it's caused by this regime or whatever. As a country, we have problems. A country that database is a problem. We don't even have data of school children after SS who couldn't continue since the inception of SS. How can you work on your even labor force and productivity? So if you say homegrown economic policy or tailor-made economic policy, it's just a fallacy. It's not going to work. I mean, I think on that day we should have a bigger time to discuss our economic structure, how we can put up proper systems in place. But I think for now, it's all about the government looking at fiscal and the monetary policies and managing it well. When you come to the fiscal aspect, we have the spending and then the taxation policies. For now, it's not good for the government to think of increasing taxes so much. Let me read something to you here. Monetary Policy Committee, government's own report. According to the Monetary Policy Committee, report from May this year, a latest Bank of Ghana survey of credit conditions indicated an overall net tightening for all loan types. The first quarter of this year's private sector credit growth remained firm at 36 times ago. I want to come down.
Yeah.
It says in real terms, credit growth declined from 21.9% to 17% over the same period. So even now, there's problem with credit. And once there's problem with credit, investment or expansion is a problem. That's why the economy is not growing, because the same thing is stated here. But the same Bank of Ghana or government, that things are not. I'm not saying these things is government, but what I'm saying is that our tax system, we should rather use the expansionary approach. It looks like we are depending so much on contractionary. What it means is that we are depending so heavily on taxes, thinking government can centrally involve in the economic activities of this country. What the government has to do now is to make sure that we adopt proper system to ensure efficiencies in our tax collection, because whether under NDC-UNPP, there are a lot of leakages. Once we do that and then try to be fair, be firm with this area and try to make sure that companies, our tax policies are set that the companies wouldn't be actually taken to the level of high that they cannot manage to make profit and expand and employ people. That please the government should look at too. The government should look at
I have to stop you. I'm being pushed out to the studio. Sorry, I have to stop you. Let me give Dr. Utaba just 2 minutes to wrap up for me. Dr. Utaba.
Well,
quickly, I'm being pushed out of the studio.
I think that most of the things that are to be done are quite clearly stated by my 2 colleagues. But then the issue also is that some of it are already in place. I mean, if you look at the Senchi consensus, for example, most of the issues that the 2 raised were addressed.
Are they being implemented?
Please. Now, the issue is that if you're looking at the issue to do with tax, revenue and so on and so, what is the ratio of our the revenue to our GDP? Hovering around 20-25% thereof. I mean, in the last quarter reading by the Ghana Revenue Authority, we actually exceeded, the target for revenue from the tax area. So this is actually being done. Now, yes, the tax net would have to be widened in terms of the fact that not many people are really paying taxes, and therefore the revenue base is not that strong. Now, the other part, which I think that is not known to many people, that, look, the Bank of Ghana has realized the need for us to even bring in, foreigners to actually take a part or play in our short-term, money market instrument. I mean, previously they were not allowed to really be doing that. So there's some kind of credit that needs to be mopped up.
Dr. Tabi, I guess I have to stop you here.
I'm just
Stephen Amwa is an investment consultant to my extreme left, Dr. Chinebu Asenzu, who is the Executive Director, Bastiat Ghana Institute. It's a liberal economic think tank. And Dr. Bernard Otabale is a financial author and a chartered accountant. Sorry, we couldn't get a lot of time to discuss the recommendations, but I guess I bet we'll have some time to talk more about this debt issue. Gentlemen, I'm so grateful you joined us tonight. Thanks so much for coming. And those of you who sent in your comments, sorry we couldn't read all of them. We're back next week on Agenda. My name is Bright Nanafo. Pt.2 is up next with News at 10. Have a great night and stay right here on TV3. Good night.